a quick review of what we learned so far, very important. We learned I'm sure a very deep machlokas, but we're taking it on its simplest level between the Rambam and the Mekubalim. I believe machlokas between the Rambam and the Zohar as not a particular Mekubal, Derech HaRambam and the Derech of the Zohar, into what is the nature of the neshama. That's what we discussed. And the question is very clear, if not simple, but it's clear, and that is the nature of the neshama such? I'm feeling bad. Women, you want to sit? You could sit in front of the mechitza. Just sit in there. It's mostly because I don't want to scream. Let's sit up here on this bench. Yeah. Anybody mind? No? Okay. So the Rambam seems to indicate that, and he says this in a number of places, and I started actually to write down the Maramakomis, which I can bring you. But the Rambam seems to indicate in a number of places, and it's almost simple that that's the derech of the Rambam, that a person is born, and you're born with a neshama, and the neshama is that which gives you the ability to grow the spirituality within a person, the conscious within a person. The Rambam puts it in all kinds of ways. And what he's talking about, you're basically born with a blank canvas, a very good piece of canvas, but it's a blank canvas, and it's our job through chinuch, self-chinuch, our job with our children, our job through Torah mitzvahs, through learning Torah, to develop that neshama into the place which he calls das. Das is the highest level that a person has to get to. So says the Rambam. Zohar speaks about something different. He speaks about the neshama. Zohar speaks about, the neshama, which comes into this world pre-wired, pre-programmed, predestined in a way, in terms of potential. And that means that the neshama could be very old. Neshama could be 1,000 years old, 2,000 years old, who knows? I don't know anything about it. There are gilgulim. There's all kinds of things that a neshama goes through which a goof doesn't go through. And as such, by the time the neshama gets to us, we have a neshama within us somewhere. So by the time that neshama gets to us, it has already a lot of experience, a lot of potential, a lot of, there's a lot of koach in that neshama, and the goof is a keli. So it's not, we're starting, it's interesting, Rambam Lashitase probably doesn't seem to hold of Gilgulim altogether. So it makes sense. You're starting, we come into life, baby is born, fresh piece of paper, go for it. But it's much more complex, if you will. I don't know exactly if the Rambam would disagree with this, or he wasn't just, it wasn't the way he was thinking, or he wasn't exposed to the Chachmas HaKabbalah. I don't know, I'm not going into that essay right now. That's a big discussion, which I'm not a bucky in. But I know the Lubavitchers like to say that the Rambam learned Kabbalah first towards the end of his life. So the things that he wrote were not Al Pi Kabbalah. I don't know what's the raya to that, but that's what they say. Other people say, no, he was a rationalist and had no Kabbalah at all. And just everything he came to was with Talmud Bavli and the Seichel. Makes no difference. The point is, I'm just saying it more for convenience sake and for our purposes. For our purposes, what's important to understand is that there's two ways of looking at it. One way of looking at it is that we're fresh, we're new, we've got this fantastic kli, and go make it into something. What we're working on here with the Ramak, based on the Zohar, is something different. We're pre-wired, we're our neshama has all kinds of potential, and as he brings the Gemara says mefurish that an uber bimei imai, that a child, before he's born, a fetus, before it comes into this world, a malach is already coming and teaching it kol Torah kula, and then the malach then makes it forget the Torah. What's all that Gemara talking about? Amar Rabbi Simloi, we learned it together. What's that Gemara talking about? The Gemara is talking about the ta'alich of the neshama even before it becomes into the guf, before it comes into its own. So we see even from the Gemara Mefurish that there is something going on, learning kol Torah kula, whatever that means. By the way, the Gra, I think I said this on Thursday, the Gra, which is brought not by the Gra but brought by his brother, the Malas HaTorah, at the end of his Sefer, brings that Torah that the Malach teaches each one of us before we're born, what that Torah actually is our personal Torah, meaning everybody has their own chelik in Torah. What I'm going to be Machadesh, you're not going to be Machadesh. What I'm going to understand and get a particular insight to, you're not going to. And what you're going to have an insight into, I'm not going to. That's V'sein, we daven for this. V'sein chelkeinu v'sayrasach. Everybody has a different chelik in Torah. So as such, you see he brings from the Gra that there was something it's a very deep insight that what we're born with is everybody different. It's unique. It can't be unique if it's all the same piece of paper. Might be have different personality and different IQ levels, but basically it's not unique. So that's the machlokas that we spoke about. And I want to move into Tomer Devorah, but and we talked about the Malbim, how the Malbim talks about how a person is born with information. That's what we learned last week at the end. I just want to, before we go further, just give me 1 second, Amatsia. Okay, Amatsia. Oh.
It's interesting that this verse says that the neshama is in the head and the brain. Is there any significance in terms of this?
I think so. I think that's a good point. And I was always taken with the fact that when most people say my neshama, they go like this. And whenever Moshe Shapiro all of a sudden said my neshama, he went like this. It's called moichen. It's moichen, I think it's all a mashal anyway. I don't think there's shabbos anywhere.
Rambam, it's really seichel. I mean, it's that function.
Right.
Others, it doesn't seem to be.
Or Moshe Shapiro is a bukubal. Yeah.
But it's not just seichel. For the Rambam, it does appear that it's primarily seichel.
I'm not sure. There's a lot of personality that goes into it, and a lot of regesh that goes into it. He talks about all those things. The Rambam. Well, what a person's born with, if you will. Right. Let me just read to you just one more introduction before we get into the text. But Reb Tzadok HaKohen in the Tzidkas HaTzadik Kuf Mem Tes. I'll read you a couple of lines here. Reb Tzadok says, Shleimus HaAdam. The question here is, how does let's say Al Pi HaKabbalah, and that's where we're going here. Let's leave the Rambam aside for a second, but or for 6 weeks. Al Pi HaKabbalah, every person is different because everybody comes to this world with another neshama. You're coming to the table with something else. Lashon of the Zohar in Hebrew is Haneshama Yeredes L'toich Haguf Hitzoyekes. The neshama is saying, "What are you putting me into this world for?" And the answer is Yerida Zut Tzarech Aliyah. It's to make an aliyah. But everybody is different. So how does a person know? Right, the $64 question. How are we supposed to know what our neshama is meant to do? Whereas we all go to the same schools, we send our kids to the same schools. We're all learning the same Torah. We're all learning the same Aleph base. We all have the same Rebbe. And somehow or another, the Rebbe is supposed to bring out the distinction between every child, which he doesn't. There's no such thing, not a Rebbe, not a Beis Yaakov teacher. Nobody does that I know of. So what are you looking at? You're looking at the talents of a person, the different, how are you, is it a Montessori system? Like, how do you bring out the particular neshama? What is chinuch? And how does a person know, more important question is, how does a person know what their neshama is to know what their shleimus is, to know what they're supposed to be doing? So Reb Tzadok says as follows. He says, Shleimus ha'adam, what is shleimus? Shleimus ha'adam hu kishiyah kach k'moishu hu masig ha'shleimus shetzarech lihos. The way you know your shleimus is by knowing what your hasaga of shleimus is. Listen to something very deep. I'll just give you a little tip when you learn different svarim of different systems. And let's say you learn a Litvish Sefer, the svarim, the Achronim. So there's always one derech in them, and they start with a question. They usually say a yisoid, and then with that you answer the question. That's usually the derech of most Litvish svarim. In Hasidic svarim, like the Tzidkas HaTzadik and the Sfas Emes, in Hasidic svarim is a different derech. They say the yisoid right out there at the beginning. Nobody's no kasha. They don't keep you in suspense, and it's a good tip to know, because if you're learning through Hasidic svarim, which I bless everybody you should be able to do, if you really would learn the first sentence in every Torah, whether it's Reb Nachman, whether it's Reb Tzadok, whether you'll pretty much know what they're saying, and now the rest of it is commentary, and the rest of it is so interesting. In this particular version of Tzidkas HaTzadik, I just want to point this out. So he puts the first sentence in bold. So the first sentence. So somebody should just make a book with just the first sentences of It's something like me. See, I want to make a book which has just the title page of all the books that I want to write. Have like 150 pages.
Abstract.
The abstract. No books, just the title page. I'm writing a book on this, I'm writing a book on that. I got so many different things. Meantime, I'm not writing any books. Yeah. But so the big bold letters here are Shleimus Ha'adam, no question, stating a fact. Shleimus Ha'adam hu, what is it? Kishiyeh kach kamoshu masiga shleimus shetzarech liyah. I read the rest, and I'm just going to tell it to you. That what it means is that sometimes a person will think to yourself, imagine to yourself, what is truly greatness? What is true greatness? Like what would a really great person do in this situation? I'm not such a great person, but what would a great person do in this situation? And it's an interesting test. You could do it with a room full of people, a room full of teenagers. Like, what do you think the answer is? Not what you would do. That's a different question. What would you do? What do you think a great person would do? And you'll get all kinds of different answers. It says Reb Tzadok that Kadosh Baruch Hu wired into every person's neshama a hasaga, a musag, a concept of greatness, and that concept of greatness is the shleimus of your neshama. That's where you need to get to. And he says that it's at some point in life, early on probably, you actually get a picture of yourself as the greatest person that you can be, and everybody's picture is different. But that's a picture of your neshama, as he puts it, bimlo'o, fully developed neshama, comes in this picture. And now my whole life is to work towards that goal. Opposite of the Rambam, right? But the Nakuda is that it's not a mystery. It's basically in our, maybe the word is imagination, what we consider to be godless, that's godless for us. If you stretch yourself to think of the greatest level of godless, that's godless for us. How do you sometimes you meet a person who could be such a role model, and you say, okay, I want to be like that person. So okay, that's different people are attracted to different types of gedolim because different people have different neshamas. One can never think about, why is this one not attracted to that one? Who knows? It has to do with the neshama and the sharish neshama. And somehow or another, this person is either getting me to or an example of the godless that I want to come to. That's how you choose a Rebbe. The other thing is, Reb Tzadok points out, he says that a person should never try to reach the hasaga of shleimus of somebody else. That would be a crime. Because if I'm trying to be you and you're trying to be me, and it's not then we're not the same neshama, so you're going to get all messed up. It's not something it could be. This is the shleimus ha'adam, which the Tomer Devorah talks about repeatedly, to be shalem. Tamim tiyeh Hashem alekecha. Shalem, that's the Targum. Shalem tiyeh Hashem alekecha. Shleimus means to complete your neshama to where it is meant to go, what it was created for. to use a horrible mashal, but it's the only mashal that comes to mind, is to take a computer and to program it to its complete potential. Complete potential. Like it can do amazing things that we don't even know they can do, but they can do those things. Kal v'chomer, the neshama, it's pre-wired. It's like a Mac. It's pre-wired with all these things. Yeah.
It's not a steerer though to the Rambam. Could be the neshama is still a clean slate, and yet you have a
nevuah
of where I should go.
I'm feeling like it's that the Rambam wouldn't like this, but maybe I'm wrong. But he calls this, by the way, this moment of realization of what greatness is. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to do the experiment right now, but everybody in this room has a different understanding of the ultimate greatness. Of course, there's common denominators. We're all nice people and all that. But greatness, people have a different hasaga. He calls, when you have this picture in your mind, if you're zocha to this picture, maybe you have to pray for it. So he calls it a nevuah ketana. Why a nevuah ketana? You're getting a glimpse, that's what nevuah is, into a higher world. Nevuah means that I'm taking something which is in the Shemayim, and I'm able to bring it into this world for people to see. Hashem is giving you a gift of a nevuah. You're seeing something which we're going to explain. I think to jump, you're seeing something in the Midas HaKeser, and you're bringing it into the Zion spheres, which is what nevuah is. That's what nevuah is. Nevuah is taking, like you said, from the moichin and bringing it into the spheres, which we're going to explain. Don't worry if you don't understand. But that's where we're going with the Tomer Devorah.
The problem is that if there's talking about a certain situation and everybody has a different saga of godless that's relevant to him, but l'chora, that means that for every situation there are 100 different ways to express godless.
Yes.
There has to be one response to a situation.
There's a halachic response.
So
This is that's actually an excellent question and an excellent segue to where I want to go right now. There is halacha and there is godless. What do I mean? So first of all, let me share with you like this. If you look at your Tomer Devorah, which I hope you have, the first words of the Tomer Devorah, we read it quickly. Let's read it slowly. Ha'adam ra'oi sheyadam elokoinai. Now, first of all, let's understand, according to everything that we just learned, everything that we said, that the neshama that we have is something which starts in Shema. It's as the words of the Zohar goes, as a cheluk elokai mimal. It's godly. Without getting into the discussion of, what is its physical nature, because it doesn't have a physical nature. But we're not talking about the personality, and we're not talking about the consciousness. We're talking about neshama. Neshama shenasato b'tahirihi. It came straight from Hashem. What is that neshama? Straight from Hashem, because Hashem wants to put godliness into this world. He created us a goof to carry this neshama. Yeah, simple enough. We get up in the morning. We say Modani lefonecha. How's it go? I haven't gotten up yet. Shechzarta bi nishmasi bechemla rabba emunasecha. Shechzarta bi nishmasi. In other words, you gave me the neshama, the neshama goes back to you, the neshama comes back to me. The neshama is the one that's communicating with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's returned to me. I am the keli. So, like the phone goes into its charger at night, gets all charged up, comes back into our goof. We wake up in the morning. Modani lefanecha. The neshama. Shenasata bi neshama shechzarta bi nishmasi b'chemla, and then we say later, Elikai neshama shenasata bi tahirihi, ata virasa. Listen to the words, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi. You have bria, yitzira, asiya. It's all there coming into this world. So that's what the neshama is. So that neshama that we have, what are we supposed to do with it? So says the Tomer Devorah, ha'adam. Yes.
Stop on the first word, Adam. What is that referring to?
Mankind, everybody.
Everybody.
How do I know? Everybody. How do I know? Because it says in Pirkei Avos that Chaviv Adam shenivra b'tzelem Elokim. Chaviv Adam shenivra b'tzelem Elokim. How do I know that's not only Jews? Because the next sentence goes, Chaviv in Yisrael shnikroim bonim l'makom. So everybody, that's the pshat. Everybody is called b'tzelem Elokim. Everybody's b'tzelem Elokim. But there's another madrega of a ben. So it means like all of mankind has similarities. Yeah, we all have noses and eyes and brains and hearts. Everybody has the same thing.
Same neshama.
A neshama, but Yisrael nikraim banim lamakom. So in other words, like we could all be the same, but if my son would be sitting here next to me or over there, you could already see a similarity. Not just in looks, but in personality. There's already some similarity between a father and a son. So when we're talking about the levels of similarity to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everybody's b'tzelem Elokim, and that's what we're talking about, the everybody right now. And Yisrael is a different madrega, tzelem plus. Bonim l'makom.
How do we understand Afem Kroyim Adam?
Okay, so let me do the first two words. Ha'adam roy shi'adam elokoinai. So the Shalah HaKadosh, by the way, the Shalah HaKadosh, the whole Shalah is based on the Tomer Devorah. It's on the Ramak in general. And the Shalah says, what do you mean? Roy Adam Shiyadam Elokoina. Roy means it is befitting, it's a good thing, it's a nice idea. That's what Roy means. It should say, he asks, Chayav. Why should it say Chayav? You're obligated to do such. Why? Because it says in Parshas Eikev, V'halachta b'drachav, you have to act like Hashem. Mahu rachum, Rashi says, Afatoti rachum. It says it again in Parshas Rei, and it says it again in Parshas Kiseitze. 3 times it says that you have to be like Hashem. So what's this roi like it's a good idea? It's the law. That's his kasha, the shlah's kasha.
Perhaps the intent here is roi in terms of potential. Everyone has the potential.
Right. Doesn't mean it's a good thing. It means roi, it's a potential. Yeah, nice. Let me tell you what the Shalah answers, which is by no means a steer to what you're saying. But I have his lashon here, and I looked it up this morning. It was hard to find. Shalah is an asar ma'amaris maimer shvi. He says, "Sha mitzvah shel v'halachta b'drachav nemral midosav yisbarach hamisgalos lanu bo'ilamenu." There's 2 sets of midos that we're dealing with here. Midos of Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai. Now in Elul, he's there in Har Sinai. Finally, talking to Hashem about, negotiating with Hashem about forgiving the Jews for the Egel. And on Yom Kippur, Hashem taught him the Midos HaRachamim. Hashem kel rachum v'chanun erech habayim, which is what our slichus is all about. And on Yom Kippur, he said, V'salachti kidvarecha. Okay, I'll forgive, now that you said those Yud Gimel Midos, I will forgive the Jewish people. And hence we have Yom Kippur, because every year at this time Hashem says, Salachti kidvarecha. Yomer Hashem, Salachti kidvarecha. Those, says the Shalah, that whole story, are Moshe Rabbeinu revealing the Midos Tachtonos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's hard to say, but that's what it is. Not to say that this is first grade or this is kid stuff. Midas Tachtonos means that which is golui, that which everybody sees about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not like a lower class, a lower level. But that there are things about Hashem that everybody can see, and there's things about Hashem that nobody can see. And there's some stuff in between. The stuff that everybody can see is, hey, Jewish people, didn't Hashem take you out of Mitzrayim? Didn't he do a Kriyas Yamsuf? Didn't he have Rachmanis even where you didn't deserve it? Isn't he a Rachum, a Chanun? Didn't he give Eser Makos to the Egyptians and not to you, Erech HaPayim? Rav Chesed, didn't you walk out loaded with lots of money and stuff? MS, all those things are things that you can see. And what Hashem said to Moshe is, pay attention to what you can see. Those are called the Midos HaTachtonos. And on this, the Torah says, there's a chiyuv, a mitzvah essay. It's according to everybody who counts mitzvahs. It's a mitzvah essay of a halachta b'drachav. This is not a ra'ui, this is a chiyuv. but it's not the subject of the Tomer Devorah. An important subject, but it's not the subject of the Tomer Devorah.
Because that's in Kesser. Because Tomer Devorah is in Kesser, so it doesn't really
That's right.
come here.
That's the point. So what is the Tomer Devorah talking about? And I pointed out on Thursday that it's ki'ilu a mistake, because if you look, mistake people make, because if you look in many machzers, including the Art Scroll machzer by Tashlich, it matches up the psukim of Micha with the Hashem Kel Rachum. They might match, I'm not sure, but they're definitely in a different order, which is problematic. It's not the same thing. If it was the same thing, then Micha would have said Hashem Kel Rachum V'chanu. Was they have to improve on Moshe Rabbeinu? What's the point? But you understand that Moshe Rabbeinu's job, his neshama, was to take that which is sasum and to be megalit. Everything that we have, who knows what the Kabbalah is and not cooking milk and meat together? Who knows what the Tamim is, the Parah Aduma? But Moshe Rabbeinu was able to say, Lo savashal gedi b'chalei v'imay. Don't cook the two of them together. Don't cook the two of them together. The Torah Shabbat Peh expands it even more. But Moshe Rabbeinu's job, so to speak, was not to teach Kabbalah. Moshe Rabbeinu's job was to be Megala, which is probably the pshat in the Gemara in Menachos, where it tells us that when Moshe Rabbeinu was Ola to Shamayim, he saw Rabbi Akiva, who knew more than him, which is mind-boggling. And as many times as we learned this Gemara, that he saw Rabbi Akiva, that Rabbi Akiva was being darshaning all kinds of tilei tilim shel halachas hakol ois v'ois, all kinds of halachas, and Moshe Rabbeinu said, so make him the boss. What are you making me the boss? Hashem told him, shtuk. You just don't get involved with this. Meaning that he not only did Rabbi Akiva, not only was Rabbi Akiva revealing more than Moshe Rabbeinu, it could be he knew more than Moshe Rabbeinu. In the sense that he was delving into a different part. It wasn't his job. It wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu's job. I mean, we see Moshe Rabbeinu knowing everything, which I'm sure he did on some level, but it wasn't his job to explain Kabbalah, if you will, to explain the deeper meanings of things. It was just to be Megala. Later on, as generations went on, so according to the Mekubalim, different pipelines opened up, and we're able to type time of the. There's a story. This is a real story that Rav Moshe Cordovero, the author of Tomer Devorah, who lived in Sfas, and he was the Mekubal of the whole generation. And when he was dying, so they said to him, "Who's the next Mekubal of the generation?" And so there's a famous story that whoever is able to see the or come from Mahla to Mata, so he's the Mekubal of the next generation. But he said, but don't be confused. This is a written story from the Ramak, his last words. Don't be confused if whoever that is talks about something different than what I'm talking about. Because he says, I spoke about Spheros, and he's going to talk about Partsufim. Don't worry about it. I'm just telling you the story. I talk about Spheros, he's talking about Partsufim, because when I die, when I leave this world, so the pipe opens up another step. And of course, as the story goes, that the Arizal heard that the Ramak died, and he came to the Beis HaKfaros, and he said, don't bury him here, bury him there, because I see the or coming down here. So everyone knew that the Arizal was the successor to the Ramak, and of course he spoke about Partsufim and not about Spheros. So that was all based, Partsufim are based on Spheros. But Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva, like Hasha Alai. I don't think it's so schwer. But that's, I really want to bring another Nakuda here, that there's another story, a recorded conversation, written conversation, between the Leshem, who was also a Makubal Hador, the Leshem was Rav Elyashiv's grandfather. So the Leshem met Rav Yisrael Salanter, who's the father of the Musar movement. And the Leshem said to Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, you're teaching so much to so many people. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, based basically on Mesilas Yesharim, he says, why don't you learn more Kabbalah and teach that? And Rabbi Yisrael Salanter told him, I'm sure whatever we know, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, no, I'm not, but Rabbi Yisrael Salanter answered the Leshem. He says, I don't need to know why. I just need to know that if I do this wrong, I'm going to get a patch. In other words, for him, the schar v'onesh and the implications stood by themselves. And for the leshem, he was talking about the kind of a level of lamalo, which I think is the whole derech of, and you find this over and over again, by the way. You find, like the Rav Shulchan Aruch, it's the Balatanya. So he paskins different than he says in Shulchan Aruch. There's a Rav Shulchan Aruch, and then there's what they call, Chabadniks call the Siddur Harav. So the Siddur is a lot of distiras between the psakim that you'll find in the Siddur Teilas Hashem and in the Siddur, and then in the Shulchan Aruch of the Rab. So they asked him, "You're tzaiser yourself." So he said, "This is al pi Kabbalah and this is al pi Nigla." And if you're inclined that way, which is not our derech we goes with halacha. But what we mean here is, and this is what the Shalah answers. That when we're talking about the halachta b'drachav, the mitzvahs essay in Parshas Eikev, so where we're talking about the midos hamiskalos, those that are revealed, shehu rachum v'chanun v'oiseh chesed. A Tomer Devorah, says the Shlah, Tomer Devorah malamid shegam b'hanagosav hayoser pnimis tzarech adam lidamos. And that's a ra'ui. You can't be mechayev of a person to act like God on the deepest place. It's in the Asar Mamoris. So he says the Ramak, Ramosha Cordovaro, in the Tomer Devorah, wrote for us a Shulchan Aruch of the midos elyonos or pnimius of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as opposed to the midos chitzonius of Moshe Rabbeinu. Everybody with me on this? So hence the lashon of Ra'ui. So allow me to make a comment on this. Let's say a person, we say tshuva, it's the season now for tshuva. So in tshuva, a person does something bad, does a chet, and now you want to change yourself. And it works. The Torah tells us it works. There's such a thing as doing tshuva. Tshuva just doesn't just mean that I've changed my behavior, but I've actually changed the essence of myself and I've changed what I've done. So it's ad kedei kach, everybody knows, that if you do tshuva correctly, zedoinois nasa kischuyos. That if you did an avera b'mezid, you did a deliberate avera, mamash deliberate avera, it turns into a mitzvah, which is a pella. I can't believe that any rehabilitation officer sees this as doinois nasa kischuyos. It means to say that, let's say, Ruvain kills his mother. Did I reach deep enough with that? And he does tshuva. There's no such thing as something you can't do tshuva on, because the Gemara just says certain things, ein maspikim biyadei la'asos tshuva. It's not saying you can't do tshuva, you're just not gonna. Ein maspikim biyadei la'asos tshuva.
Isn't totally until you die.
Yecholiyot, but the point is you could do tshuva. No, but so what? You could do tshuva. When that's, and the zdoinois, that avera that killed his mother, becomes a mitzvah. Is it possible to understand? No. That's the answer. Why is it impossible to understand? Because it's impossible to understand God. That's all. There's a certain aspect of Hashem that we can't understand. So, how does it work? So the Sfarim explained to us how it works. It's, by the way, it's amazing because everything that we talked about the Rambam is the master of Hilchos Tshuva. He's the one who taught us that there's such a thing as Hilchos Tshuva. And then afterwards, Rabbeinu Yoina. And this halach is in the Rambam. So that's, again, something we need to be miyashe. How does it work? It works like this, that there's our world that we live in. There's worlds that are higher than us. And there are worlds that are so high that there's no difference between good and bad in those worlds. Echad apashut. The oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is such that there is no good and bad. That's here. good and bad. There's no good and bad in Shemayim. Yeah. Memela, if there's such a thing, this is called in Zohar the Oitzer Matnas Chinam, and even higher. So the highest place by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which we don't understand, there's no good, there's no bad. It's Ainohach. I mean, a little bit, I guess we can understand. We could understand sometimes. We can see that if it wasn't for such an avera, so some good would not have come out. We've all seen this in our life. We could even see some good that came out of the Holocaust. But anybody who pretends to try to explain the Holocaust is a shoita. Who could understand such thing? But in Shemayim, obviously, in the highest place in Shemayim, there's a plan. It's not chaos. There's a plan. This is Ani Ma'amin Be'emunah Shlema. This is the simple emunah of a Jew. That there's an echad in Shemayim, Hashem echad, Shema echad. That's what we say, Shema Yisrael. There is no good and bad. Everything is echad. So it's not a kasha how zdoinois nasa keschuyos. That if I can do tshuva, I can get to such a high place with my tshuva, or my tshuva can raise to such a high place that even a chet, b'mezid, can become a chet, can become a mitzvah, keschuyos. We get the math. To try to understand how it works is beyond us. I don't know if you're even allowed to think of how it works, but we understand the math. What happens is that it goes to such a place, tshuva takes it to such a place where there's no difference between good and bad. But you have to do tshuva me'ava. So here's the scenario. Somebody goes and murders another person. A witness sees it, and he's warned, and he's taken away to Beis Din, and Sanhedrin decides that he's Chayav Misa, and they're going to kill him. This didn't happen too often, but it's happened. You're Chayav Misa, death penalty. And on the way to the gallows, he turns around and he says, okay guys, the event is off, I just did Shuvah Mi'ava. Okay, what do we do with that? So the answer is very clear. We don't do anything with it. And it even says that the Dayan, as you see this in the Rimagash and Sanhedrin, the Dayan turns to the person. He says, that'll help you in Shemayim, but it's not going to help you here.
Death is part of the truth.
Death is part of the tshuva. Now, is it the pshat that it's not going to help you here? Because how do we really know you did tshuva? How are we supposed to? Nobody knows really what's going on in another person's heart. Or is it the pshat that no, Hashemayim l'Hashem ba'aretz nosan livnei adam. We're not in the domain of something bad turning into something good. We don't live in that world. We know about it. Hence, the Dayan tells them this will help you in Shemayim, because in Shemayim, what you did bad will actually, maybe the murder you did will give you a place next to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai in Shemayim, because you're really bad. So you can go really high. So it's not just that we don't know, but there's a psak halacha for this world, and then there's a psak halacha in Shemayim, and we have to make peace with the fact that these are two different places. One we understand, one we don't understand. There's a psak halacha here, instructions, rules, which are not the rules in Shemayim. So
Can't be it's a suffix, because if it was a suffix, then
it can't be what's a suffix.
whether you believed him or not. Because if it was true that if you believed him that you would stop the procedure, then the fact that there would be a suffix on the table would stop you from being able to do it.
You're right. You can't kill somebody with a suffix.
So that's a raya that because you don't believe him, that shows you that it's not because of a suffix.
So the pshat is that even if we believe you 1,000,000%, it's not going to change the halacha here. And that's why I say for us, we have halacha, because halacha is an operating system for this world. Whereas anything that we're learning on a higher level is not the operating system of this world. Hence the Tomer Devorah says, Ra'ui la'adam she'yisdam l'koyin. Nevertheless, wouldn't it be cool if we can know how it's operating, at least on some level, in the Shemayim, because then we would know more, important sentence, about our neshama. Because the neshama is coming from that world. So if you really want to understand your neshama correctly, it would be kedai to go at least as far as the higher midos. There are 7 midos of Hashem, which are revealed. There are 3 midos of Hashem, which are not revealed, but possibly accessible on some level. And then there's infinity, which we have no idea about. So when we're talking about Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, Malchus, we can get a handle on that. You have to learn. You have to learn. You learn Torah, you know. When you're talking about the higher 3 levels, which is Keser, Chachma, and Bina, those are the 3 on top, the Segel on top. So I got to get that whiteboard back here. Inverted Segel. So inverted Segel. So it's Keser, Chachma, Bina. So it's beyond what we could understand or do, but we can get a type of a glimpse of it. But by the way, the Tanya of the Balatanya, the Tanya of the Balatanya. So he changed these 3, if you will, from Keser, inverted Segel, to Segel. From Keser, Chachma, and Bina, to Chachma, Bina, and Das, Chabad. Right? Chachma, Bina, Das. Das is the more practical side of the Keser. And the whole Sefer HaTanya is to explain not the 7 spheros. He says for that to have Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. the whole point of the Sefer HaTanya is to invert the Segel. Don't get involved with Chachma or Bina. Get involved with Das, which is the flip side of the coin of Keser. So if you could imagine something which is facing up and facing down, right? So what's facing down we can get some or from. What's facing up, Ein Lanu Musag. So even though this is his whole thesis of the Sefer HaTanya, this is what it's all about. If you ever learn Tanya and you don't know this, then you missed the point. That the whole point of the Sefer HaTanya is to show that the Bechina of Das, which is the other side of the Keser.
Is that the Rambam, the Das?
No, I don't think so. But I don't know if it's the same Das. He says it is. Okay, he says it is. Hence, it's all about Das. It all comes down to Das. So again, it's the halacha that a Sanhedrin is doing and a Beis Din is doing, and then there's what's l'malu mimenu. Comes the Tomer Devorah, and I only got through 4 words here. But maybe we have 2 minutes to go through the next 4 words. Ha'adam ra'oi sheyadam elokoinoi, that it's kind of befitting that we should study, and as the Shalah says that the Tomer Devorah made a Shulchan Aruch of the Midos Elyonos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You know, instead of going further, I just want to give just one example of what we're going to learn, which is always so hard. The based on what I said before, and with this we'll until Thursday. If a person wrongs us, wrongs you, wrongs me in any which way, did something which is really, really hurtful for me, do I have to forgive him? So, do I have to forgive them? I mean, they really hurt me. Do I have to forgive them if they don't apologize? So, when it's not happening to the person, we say, look, don't you believe in Shuvah? There's such a thing. But if they really hurt us, they took away our job, they took away our children, they did something terrible to us. Unfortunately, many people have people in their lives that have done something terrible to them. Sometimes it's a parent, sometimes it's a spouse, there's all kinds of scenarios. Do I need to forgive them? So, al pi halacha, the halacha is very clear about this, that if somebody asks you mechila 3 times, and it's a sincere mechila, you could even demand that if he did something bad to you in public, you could even demand that the mechila is asked in front of a minyan. This is all in the Rambam. Halachas hamagulas. You must forgive him or her. Somebody asked forgiveness 3 times. They did it properly. They undid as much as they can what they did. You forgive the person. That's what the Rambam says in Hilchos Tshuva. Comes the Tomer Devorah, and he says something which is so hard. he says, if you're going with the midos of Hashem, not mechuyev. You're not mechuyev. But if you're going with the midos of Hashem, the bad has to become good. Lo machnis ra lefon of klal, says the Tomer Devorah. He doesn't allow any bad in his chamber. There's no bad. So it's not just, okay, so I'll forgive you, but I'm not going to trust you. This is so hard. I mean, every time I come to this in the Tomer Devorah, I'm ready to close the book, because what am I supposed to, like, I'll forgive you, but I'm supposed to, like, somehow erase the bad that you did? There's a lot to talk about this and a lot to learn about it. But the short answer is, according to the Rambam, not necessary. According to the Tomer Devorah, which is a different Shulchan Aruch, yes, try to do that, because that's what Hashem does. And that's what we want Hashem to do with us, right? Like a person becomes a Baal Tshuva, we want to have a fresh slate. Stop reminding me about the things that I did when I was 17. We don't want to go there. So just like we don't want Hashem to go there, we have this ability. We're wired to be able to do that. It's not mechuyev, but it's a different level. That is the level which we'll talk about in 6-7 pages. But that's the level of the Tomer Devorah. It's milah d'shmaya, but the milah d'shmaya that every person can grasp, which is the keser. There's something we can learn about it, and you needed a big mekubal to teach us about it. But thank you very much.